My name is Karen Schreiner, and I'm a second grade teacher. Aspire Monarch Academy is a charter school in Oakland, California, and we have a little bit less than 400 scholars in our school. We're a K-5 school. Most of our students and their families identify as Latino. We have a small percentage of African American students in our school.
If I could choose one word to describe Karen, it would be that she is passionate.
Committed.
Helpful. Kind. Miss Schreiner is the best.
She wants the best for them. She wants them to be deep thinkers and problem solvers and strong members of the community, and it just comes through in everything that she does.
When I think about how I approach students, we don't talk about fair as everyone getting the same thing. We talk about fair as being everyone gets what they need. And that's a real core belief of mine as a person, and especially as an educator. I try to cultivate a real sense of community where it's okay that this student gets extra time with me. It's okay that this student gets to sit in a chair. It's okay that this student gets to take breaks, that this student has an incentive sticker chart. That's what they need, and that's what fair means. It doesn't mean everyone gets the same thing. It means I do my best to help everyone get what they need in order to be successful. The ways in which I engage my scholars in thinking critically about their environment, about their community, and about any problems they face is primarily through literature. So when I think about having a culturally relevant approach to teaching, when I think about wanting an anti-bias lens or a social justice lens, the way that I primarily go about it is through the units that I teach in reading. I believe really strongly that it's my job to present my students with different perspectives of history and not have just one particular lens, and to put the cognitive lift on them to analyze the perspective that's being presented to them and what they think about that perspective. And it's very hard because we're 7 and 8 years old, but I think it's very possible to do this in a developmentally appropriate way. One step that I've taken to engage families in my classroom is when I teach a unit, I try to elicit their input. So I had a few parents in particular mention Cesar Chavez, mention Dolores Huerta. Some families mention Martin Luther King Jr., Ruby Bridges. So I try to take that input into consideration when I plan my unit. For me, as an educator, and particularly an educator that strives to teach with a social justice lens, that kind of family engagement is very important to me. I believe very strongly that most students need a lot of structure, and that doesn't mean being oppressive, it doesn't mean being militaristic, it means making the classroom a safe space for students. And I think the biggest way that I can provide safety is with consistency. I would like to say that I would call myself a warm demander. I do draw very clear boundaries with students, and I do hold them to high expectations, and I do it in a way that is framed around caring and around love. I hope that my students have learned to think outside of themselves and to make choices with their lives that result in the promotion of a more just world. Last year, after Ferguson happened, a lot of us were like, we need to talk about this. How do we talk about this in a way that's now reactive as opposed to proactive? How do we do that in a way that's not tokenizing? How do we do that in a way that feels safe for everyone? And I think ultimately, after thinking that through, we kind of felt we can't not talk about it. We know that's the wrong choice, so let's try and let's stumble and let's have really restorative conversations with our kiddos when things get tricky. So we came up with just kind of this shared understanding of what a protest is and why someone would engage in a protest. What's the purpose behind that? And it's a very beautiful thing to see a 7-year-old be able to say, well, it's because they're saying Black people are important too, not just white people. That's why I like teaching early education, because I think I have a really critical role that I can help develop at a young age that will hopefully carry through their life.